Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This week I wanted to talk about the idea of you are what you consume. And now, traditionally, people think about the you are what you eat kind of thing. And I think that it goes beyond that in a lot of different ways, where the media you consume kind of shapes who you are. And kind of what I mean by this is for a while, I watched a lot of like scary movies, violent movies and stuff like that, or played video games like Doom or, whatever. And while that didn't make me like a crazy person that wants to go out and like attack everybody, it did affect my mood. It did change the way that I approached just general life stuff. I ended up finding myself more frustrated and more aggressive and angry. And now, obviously, again, I wasn't like attacking people, but it changed the way that I approached things. And I feel that's very heavily contributed by, the media that I consumed at that time. And I've talked about this with Shaka Panda before, and he's cut out a lot of like hip hop and other rap styles of music simply because the content of those lyrics are generally very aggressive, and that affects him in his daily life. And I don't blame him for that. It's just something that it's really hard to kind of think about that stuff and how it affects you long term, but it's definitely something that plays a part in your creative development, in kind of just your personal life in general, because you are what you consume. And this can go beyond just kind of your attitude and go into what you create as well. I feel that the more I listen to a certain style of music, the more I want to create that style of music. So stylistically, my creative output is determined by the type of music and the type of media that I consume, simply because it's what's inspiring me at the moment. So if you want to write a certain way or paint a certain way, I would consume that type of media, because you're going to find the most concentrated amount of inspiration there. When I was writing The Moon Seems Unaffected, I listened to a lot of Black Earth because that was my direct inspiration for it. And I feel that, sometimes that inspiration in The Moon was a little too on the nose, but for the most part, I feel that I really did a good job reflecting that style into my own particular lens, or through my own lens. And yeah, like I really just think that it's important to be aware of the types of media that you consume, because it definitely has a prominent impact on you. That's really it. I think that it's just really important to stay on top of that stuff. And like most things in life, like being mindful of what you're doing and how you are living is important. And it's really hard to be mindful of everything that you do and the media that you consume, especially when you're out in the world and you don't have as much control over it, like listening to music in a grocery store, or all of the visual design with advertising that happens when you're outside of your house. You have less control over that, but the stuff that you do have control over, it could be mindful, or could be good to be mindful of how you approach and how you consume that stuff, because it's not something that we really think about. It's definitely not something that I thought about for a long time, until I realized that it was definitely impacting me, and I had to change the way that I did stuff. And I still really like playing Doom and some of the other aggressive games, but it's something that I do in small bursts now, instead of something that I just kind of marathon through, because I find that when I play those types of games, or playing frustrating games like The Binding of Isaac, or Enter the Gungeon, or any of those types of games that are designed to be very difficult, that changes it changes my mood. Like, because they're designed to be frustrating, they're designed to feel good when you overcome them, but until you overcome them, they're designed to be very frustrating. And I mean, I think Color Jumper was born from that, really, because I was playing a lot of Binding of Isaac and a lot of Enter the Gungeon and a lot of other games that came out around that era. Celeste was another one. But it was designed to be frustrating. And through that, like, I got frustrated. And I think that affected my daily life. And while something good came out of it, Color Jumper was a very good game. It probably impacted my mental health a bit. And so, I try to play those games because I like playing them, but I try to play them in a little bit more limited quantities. So, yeah, I hope that this gave you a little bit of insight as to kind of how this stuff works, because there's definitely a lot there. It's kind of just really scratching the surface, but just being mindful and aware of what's happening when you consume media is really valuable. So that's everything I've got. Thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter, and thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Be remarkable.